Hello everybody, welcome back to Chill Vibes Only. Today's video is a yogi's guide to setting healthy boundaries with the people in your life or anyone who you have a relationship with, figuring out what your boundaries are and then how to express and communicate them. I'm just going to be talking from my experience here and what I've learned. Setting boundaries is something I started doing, I would say, in the last year or so, and it's really improved my relationships with my friends, my family, romantic partners, and also just made me feel more comfortable and secure in asking for what I need, and then also not getting into like a negative thought pattern or spiraling or feeling like my feelings aren't being considered. So boundaries are super important, and just making sure that you feel safe and supported and comforted in your relationships. I think everybody has boundaries, but sometimes they're just not aware of them. They're not aware of what triggers them, or they are aware of them and they don't know how to express them. So today's video is going to be about learning how to become aware of your boundaries and then learning how to express them then to those important people in your life who you have relationships with. So getting into it right away, the first thing that you want to become aware of is actually what that boundary is for you. And oftentimes I find you can discover your boundaries just based off of what triggers you. So for example, maybe a boundary of yours is like respecting your time, and you realize that when someone doesn't make plans with you or they're constantly late, it really triggers you and it makes you really angry or sad or frustrated. It's likely those things that cause those physical and emotional responses from you are things that you have boundaries within your life. And that just might be based off of previous experiences or things that have happened to you where it's just a triggering emotion. In order to avoid feeling that or feeling like you're being disrespected or that your emotions and feelings aren't being cared for, is setting that boundary and making it really clear to someone that, hey, this is a really triggering action or response that I don't have space for in my life right now, because it just doesn't make me feel loved, supported, or cared for. So think about what are those really big triggering emotions for you. So with your friends, maybe it's if they don't invite you to plans, or if they call you last minute, or if they're constantly late. Maybe it's with your family if they constantly are offering their advice on something or telling you what to do, or not putting away the dishes, or just anything that's really triggering to you and that causes that big emotional like shift where you feel yourself having some sort of anger or sadness or frustration. Those are likely things that you need to start to set boundaries around in your life. I'm not saying that like if something affects you emotionally, you have to set a boundary for that right away. Think about the things that are reoccurring that show up often for you where you're like, yeah, that really bothers me and that's not okay with me, and this is something that I then need to communicate with the people in my life so they know that that's not going to fly and that that's something that really affects me and that we need to work on setting a line or a boundary about, in order to make me feel like I can be vulnerable and open and authentic and trust in this relationship. So that is my first advice for just trying to figure out where your boundaries are. Once you've decided what your boundaries and what your trigger points are, we can start to work on communicating them clearly and authentically to the people who we love in our lives. So for example, once you have a boundary, say it is time. Someone's late and they disrespect your time and they don't show up, it really triggers you because maybe you had a relationship prior where the person constantly just abandoned you and was late and never came on time, and it just caused you a lot of anxiety and grief. The best way, I think, to explain this boundary to people is first just to be open and honest about it. So if it's with a friend or a family member or a significant other, a conversation that you can have early on in the relationship is like, hey, one thing that really affects me emotionally is when you do not show up on time. And you can explain to them, because in my past, you don't have to always go super into it, but you can just say something like, because in my past, time is a really big issue for me, and when someone is late and disrespects my time, it doesn't make me feel loved and supported like I want to feel. And in order for me to be open and authentic and vulnerable with you, I need you to respect my time and respect that boundary. So I understand that things happen and people can be late, but I need you to at least call me and tell me you're going to be late, and I need you to make an active effort to plan to be on time so I know that I can count on you and rely on you. And this is a boundary of mine, and I need you to respect that for me. And if the person loves and cares about you, they will. I think that oftentimes we get scared to communicate what we need to people because we're scared that they're going to think we're asking for too much, or that we are being too demanding. And those just aren't your people. The people who love and care about you are going to say, hey, you know, I love you. I want you to feel supported. I want you to feel cared for. And so yes, of course, I will do that for you. And yes, I will make an active effort to make sure that I'm not triggering you or crossing this boundary or this line with you, because I know it's important to you. What's not fair is when we hold these boundaries or we have these triggers in our head and we don't communicate that, and then when someone shows up late, we go give them the silent treatment, or we freak out on them and flip out on them, and that person doesn't understand where we're coming from or why it's so triggering, because that might not be a triggering boundary for them. So really it's just about being open and honest and communicating that. I think that I feel statements are always really the best way to go about having tricky conversations, because it's not saying you're late and you disrespect me and you don't care about my time and whatever. It's saying, hey, I feel like whenever you show up late, it doesn't feel nice to me, because it feels like I'm not a priority to you and that my time isn't important to you. And I feel like you don't respect me, or what I have going on in my life, and it doesn't feel nice to me. And that person can then be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, that wasn't my intention, and I'm going to make an active effort going forward to no longer do that. So just being clear and communicating boundaries can really help improve your relationships. For me especially, it's made me feel seen and heard and allowed me to be a lot more vulnerable and open with others, because I can say, yeah, these are the things that really bother me and that I need to have support on, and it keeps me from doing circles and hamster wheels in my head, and instead I can be present with that person and just be authentic with them. So that's my guide for understanding our boundaries and communicating them with others. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you like it, because it really helps our channel, and I'll see you again soon for another video.